Frederick Douglass is best known as a freed abolitionist. While he never truly knew his exact age, he would have been born sometime around 1818 in Maryland. He was born into slavery, and after rising to prominence through his writing and speeches, his freedom was eventually brought by English supporters. He attributes the start of his journey into abolitionism by learning to read and write, specifically reading The Liberator, a famous abolitionist newspaper published and edited by William Lloyd Garrison, who also founded the Anti-Slavery Society. Starting in 1841, while Douglass was still a slave and a fugitive, he joined the Anti-Slavery Society as a lecturer, and in 1842 he was asked to travel to Pittsfield, New Hampshire, to share his speech with the townspeople. While Douglass spoke in New Hampshire on multiple occasions, he wrote briefly about his time in Pittsfield in his third memoir, originally published in 1881, The Life and Time of Frederick Douglass. Before his rise to fame in the antebellum period, Douglass was asked to travel to Pittsfield to speak and was told to meet a man named Mr. Hills, who was apparently a subscriber of The Liberator. Douglass writes, "It was supposed that any man who had the courage to take and read The Liberator, edited by William Lloyd Garrison, or The Herald of Freedom, edited by Nathaniel P. Rogers, would gladly receive and give food and shelter to any colored brother laboring in the cause of the slave. As a general rule, this was very true." Douglass was soon to be surprised by his welcome to Pittsfield. He was made to ride on the top of the carriage and was not allowed to sit inside. He received a cold and hard welcome at the house of Mr. and Mrs. Hills, and went far as to diagnose as Mr. Hills with colorophobia, something that Douglass felt sure he could cure. After finding his own way to the town hall, he gave 4 speeches to a cold and uncaring crowd. Douglass remarked that each time there was a break for a meal, he was left uninvited, and eventually found a graveyard near the town hall to sit for a break, remarking, "I had felt some relief in contemplating the resting places of the dead, where there was an end to all distinctions between rich and poor, white and colored, high and low." As he sat, a man named Moses Norris invited Douglass to his house for a warm spot to sit, despite claiming himself as no abolitionist. Even more shocking, Douglass recognized this man as having literally dragged the Reverend Norris Storrs from the pulpit for preaching abolitionism. Despite feeling unsafe in Norris's house at first, he made a quick acquaintance with Mrs. Norris after asking for her hospitality, and, after Douglass's last speech of the night, he had been invited to either go back to the Norris's house or to the Hills' house. Douglass chose Norris, picking the home of the non-abolitionist instead of a subscriber of The Liberator. As much as Douglass was surprising to the people of Pittsfield, it seems that the people of Pittsfield surprised him as well. Mr. Norris, upon giving Douglass a ride out of town, inside the carriage, remarked that he was even more honored to have him sit there than the President of the United States. 3 years later, Douglass would publish The Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, his first memoir that would serve as abolitionist fuel and launch his rise into the antebellum public mind. He would be freed a year after that, and then in 1852 would come his speech, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July," which is still presented in speeches throughout New Hampshire today.
And here I am in Pittsfield, New Hampshire, where this sign explains that Frederick Douglass came to this graveyard before Norris invited him to his house. Pittsfield happens to be my hometown. I attended Girl Scout meetings in the building that's right next to this graveyard, even participating in cleanup events to help clean up the graveyard every year. Frederick Douglass had a huge influence in his time and far beyond, between anti-slavery movements and writings, countless speeches, working with multiple presidents, as well as women's rights. He had an impact that far reached his time, and he even had a huge impact on the small New Hampshire town. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Doing a dramatic zoom in.